Good afternoon, everybody. This is Joe Cusick from the Cusick Group, securities provided by MoneyBlock. With your tech talk here at MarketStream.live, it's one of those special afternoons where I got a text from my oldest child. She voted for the first time. And while all of this headline risk and turmoil and volatility and just all the action, it kind of makes you take pause and go, you know what? That's the first adult thing that she's done since leaving for college. And she exercised her right, a right that many people fought and died for. And just not to get too sentimental, but I just got the text right now, and I'm pretty proud. Good job, Mags. Now, what we want to do is we want to break down what's going on in the markets technically. And I want to break down some names and some sectors that we talked about over the last week or so. Maybe a little bit longer than usual on the Tech Talk, but let's just dive into some of these sectors and then take a look at them technically, see where they're at and how we should be looking at them going into the close of the election tonight, into tomorrow, and into the upcoming weeks. Taking a look at the aerospace and defense names. Now, what I'm not going to do, I'm no longer doing Clinton, Trump. I'm just going to go into the technicals, take a look at the stocks, okay? Taking a look at the first aerospace and defense name, going to be Boeing. Stock's been seeing some resistance at 146. This is going to be a critical setup level right there. If the bulls are actually going to take hold there from a technical perspective, 146 is going to be the critical level to break through. Obviously, in anticipation, if you see that break, you're most likely seeing a Clinton victory. If you see it hold in there and you actually start to act as even tougher resistance than it is right now, it looks like then it would be a Trump victory. When that happens, we'll talk a little bit more about the dynamics of that. Lockheed Martin, we're going to take a look at that. It's sitting right on its 200-day moving average around 236. We want to see it hold here, that's for sure. And want to see then, if it holds here, get some volume and have a retest of $250. Rockwell Collins, this is a stock that's been holding that $81, $82 level. I want to see it start to retake its 50-day moving average, get above that $83.50 level. Triple L, level 3, taking a look at that, attempting to hold its 200-day SMA. It's pulled back about 6%, but it's holding this long-term support. Let's see if it holds there. Now it's switching gears. We want to take a look at industrials. And industrials are going to be names that you've heard of. They're somewhat bellwethers. Some of you may not have. And one I'm going to bet you haven't talked about is going to be an interesting name. GE. GE is way off of its $28 level. And it's about to test its $50 simple moving average right around $29.50. If we can get a breakthrough there, that's going to be midterm resistance now turning into support. Get a couple sessions, we could start seeing that as a catalyst technically to the upside. Obviously, too, we're going to look at the candidates. A Clinton victory would be pretty positive for GE, especially with her trade policies versus Trump's. N5, this is an interesting name, ticker symbol NVEE. It is something that we've seen that there was some profit taking ahead of elections, but it's bouncing off of that 200-day moving average. That's important from a technical respect. That's that long-term support level. If you look at it, there's a lot of individuals that have gotten into the stock over the last 200 days. Yes, we've had some profit taking into the elections, but if it firms up at this 200-day moving average and we see that a Clinton presidency is more probable, I know I wouldn't say this, but I'm going to mention this just to give a little color. This could be beneficial for NV5. Another one that's going to be interesting on the industrial side, one that's going to kind of catch you off guard, is called Cemex. It's ticker symbol CX. Now, this is a provider of concrete, probably the largest one in Mexico. And if there is any wall that's going to be built, right, and Mexico is going to be part of it, this is a stock that could be one of the perceived winners. It's been trying to break out over the $9 mark. If it does, and it will, if in fact we start to see that as the evening goes on and there's a little bit more of a Trump push, this could be a very interesting stock to watch. Looking in the semis, Micron. It's one of those holdings that a lot of traders, a lot of investors have had on it as a long-term holding. It's got some resistance at the $18 level. I want to see that resistance broken. Semis are going to be interesting because this is a longer-term holding and it's, in the teens still. It's not one of those high flyers that I think would come under pressure in this sector, especially if we had a Democratic victory. There is uncertainty about what are going to be the tax policies going forward, basically for both camps. There's really no clear picture, but one thing is that there is a fear that cap gains could go up if, in fact, there is a Democratic, in other words, a Clinton victory. So Micron, though, would be a benefactor, especially because of trade. There are some other high-flying names like NVIDIA that may come under some pressure just because people might want to cut their winners in front of the potential of having new cap gain tax implications. Now, taking a look at healthcare, this arguably is the most volatile area around all of them. I am personally dealing with it because I've seen how my healthcare provider, being independently employed, has basically rolled out and said, guess what? As of January 1st, your premiums double. My out-of-pocket maximum goes to almost $45,000, so on and so forth. Folks, this is getting scary, to say the least. That's a fundamental, more personal discussion that I just had with you, but I just want you to know what normal people are looking at these days when you're not under your corporate insurance policy. One of the names that you want to take a look at is AT Aetna. Stock has tumbled to about 106. It's bounced back, basically retesting that 112 area, which is the 200-day simple moving average. This is definitely going to be one to watch as you get into the close of this evening, into tomorrow, and going forward. In general, if you want to just keep an eye on the healthcare providers and see how whomever wins and also what happens with the congressional and senatorial races, watch IHF. That's the healthcare ETF that we talked about this morning. As a matter of fact, if you go to the discussion on what's hot on the open, we have a great discussion on all of these names in greater detail. But that broke below the 120 area. And in last week's sell-off, I'm looking at the pricing right now, it's making a move back now. So we're going to see if strength continues. One that you also want to watch is J&J, Johnson & Johnson. It's holding its 200-day moving average right around $114. This is going to be one of those large cap names that you're going to watch in this sector, in the healthcare sector. Also Anthem, ANTM. These and also Cigna. These are healthcare providers that are really no fans of Obamacare and are really no fans of expanding it. Plus, there is the risk that going to a public healthcare or a public insurance company, which is what's been suggested by the Clinton policies early in the debates. Anthem right now is fighting to hold 120. We're going to watch this, especially as the results start to become more clear. CI, Cigna, bounced off the 118 level. Resistance is right at 130. I think just looking at the price action right now, I would say that a lot of key levels here are at 130, and you got to keep this one on the radar. If it hits 130, we see the results of the election, there could be some action there, especially if a Clinton victory, we could see that resistance really start to become favorable to maybe some short sellers. So I'm going to want to watch that very closely. In alt energy, take a look at clean energy fuels. It's got a pretty decent recent gain in the old energy field. It's holding its 200-day moving average as I'm looking at the price action right now. I think if, in fact, you're looking for one of those potential big hitter type of names in this space, this is going to be one, CLNE, holding its 200-day moving average. And finally, taking a look at telecom. Dycom Industries. It's bouncing off its 200-day moving average. It looks like it's going for a retest of that $84 to $85 resistance level. I mean, telecom should be a big winner if Clinton gets in and presses forward with her Wi-Fi in every house pledge. That's another thing that we heard on the campaign trail. And ticker symbol DY bounced off that 200-day moving average, that long-term support, and is now looking to challenge 84 to 85. So as the markets are now resonating with all the major indices pretty solidly in the green, you have commodity markets down with gold, that safe haven trade, as well as crude off. And you have the bonds still trading off. Bottom line is that it looks like the markets right now are starting to favor a Clinton victory. And the technicals right now, where they were challenged, are now showing some support. We threw out stocks that could benefit from either camp getting into office. But again, we're going to watch all this closely over the upcoming 24, 48 hours and going forward for the foreseeable future. But at least we don't have any more debates after tonight. All right, folks, we will see you at 4:30 Eastern time for the closing bell. We're going to wrap this up as best we can. We're going to have a long night ahead of us. Hopefully get a little relaxation. And again, if you haven't gotten out and vote, go out and vote. I voted. Did you? Get out there. All right? Take care.